Last year, my rental portfolio generated $404,000 in gross rental income that includes 22 rental properties spread across 5 different states and only 1 hour of work per week to manage all of it. I want to show you where this started in 2016. $30,000 in savings, a credit score of 580. I was a software engineer at Microsoft and I had no background in real estate whatsoever. The gap between these 2 points, broke immigrant with a bad credit score and a $5 million portfolio running on autopilot, that gap is what this video is about. But it didn't happen because I worked harder in my 30s. It happened because of a decision I made in my mid-20s that helped me build a system I ran for the next decade, making me wealthy in my late 30s. I'm going to walk you through every phase of that system: the credit work, the loan process, the first purchase, building the portfolio, and the mistakes that kill it before even it starts. So by the end, you will have the exact blueprint to follow using my footsteps. Phase 1, fix the foundation. Before any of this possible, there's a number that controls everything: your credit score. It determines whether lenders will talk to you, what interest rate they will offer, and how much that rate costs you over the life of a loan. A bad score doesn't just slow you down, it costs you real money for decades. When I started, my score was 580. That's below the threshold most conventional lenders want to see. I got it to 780, and here's exactly what I did. I paid every single bill on time. Not most of them, every one of them. I knocked out my small credit card balances, the ones with high utilization relative to the limit, and I pulled my credit report and disputed the errors that were sitting on there doing damages. That's it. 3 different moves. It took about 18 months. The difference between a 580 and a 780 on a 30-year mortgage isn't small. On a $300,000 loan, that gap is interest rate can cost you $80,000 to $120,000 over the life of a loan. That's not a rounding error. That's a down payment on your next property. Simply gone. The reason credit matters so much is that it's the price of excess. A higher score doesn't get you approved. It gets you better terms, lower monthly payments, and more cash flow from day one. Every basis point of interest rate you save is money that stays in your pocket every month, compounding forward. So here's what to do right now. Pull your credit report from all 3 bureaus. It's free at annualcreditreport.com. Look for errors, dispute them, pay down any balances sitting above 30% of the credit limit. Set up automatic payments so nothing slips. Target above 620 to qualify, above 720 to get the best rates. While that's happening, start building the down payment. FHA loans requires only 3.5% down. On a $100,000 property, that's just $3,500. Open a high-yield savings account, call it whatever you want. I called mine the Freedom Fund, and put every spare dollar in there. Then get pre-approved before you start looking at properties. Pre-approval tells you exactly what you can afford, and it tells sellers you are serious. Talk to at least 3 different lenders, compare every rate, every fee, every condition. That 1 week of work saved me thousands of dollars down the line. But before moving to the loan process, if you want my help in building a real estate portfolio with passive income, you should check out my mastermind program where I help individuals achieve financial freedom without the headache. Phase 2, the loan approval process. Now, getting pre-approved is one thing. Getting to the closing table without blowing up your application is another thing. The loan approval process has a specific logic to it, and most people slow themselves down or kill their deal entirely by not understanding how it works. I have applied to 35 mortgages across 29 properties. I have worked with 20 different lenders. I was approved for all but one, and that one failed because the appraisal came in below the purchase price, not because of anything I did wrong. One lender closed my applications in 14 days. A couple of others took 6 weeks for the same type of loan. The difference wasn't the loan, it was the process and how prepared I was going in. Here's the do and don't list I developed across those 35 applications. Follow this closely. Do: keep your income steady, keep your job, pay every bill on time while the application is open. Maintain a paper trail for every transaction related to the purchase. But don't do the following. Don't change your jobs during the process. Even a promotion can trigger a re-underwrite. Don't apply for new credit. No car loans, no credit cards, nothing. Don't make large cash deposits into your bank account. Lenders need to source every dollar. Don't amend your tax returns while the application is in process. Don't spend money from the reserve amount you disclose to the lender. The reason these rules exist is that lenders aren't just approving you, they are approving a snapshot of your financial life at a specific moment in time. Any change to that snapshot after you have submitted the application forces the underwriter to reevaluate, and reevaluation takes time, creates questions, and sometimes kills the deal. The lender who move fast are the ones with clean, efficient system. The ones who take 6 weeks are the ones who review documents once a week and ask for the same thing twice. I learned to identify the difference early, and I would ask directly, what's your average time to close? And what's your process for document review? That questions alone tells you a lot. Here's what to have ready before you submit anything. Last 30 days of pay stubs, 2 years of W-2, 2 years of federal tax return, 2 months of bank statements for every account you are using for the down payment or reserves, a copy of your driver license, 2 years of resident history. If you own rental properties already, mortgage statements, current leases, insurance, and tax receipts. Know your DTI, your debt to income ratio, before the lender calculates it for you. Add up all of your monthly debt payments divided by your gross monthly income. Most lenders want the number under 43%. What is the best scenario? Credit score above 720, DTI around 43%, and 6 months of reserve sitting in the bank. Get that in order before you submit, and the process moves really fast. So now that you are pre-approved, the question becomes which property you buy, because the wrong property could kill your chances of ever building a $1 million portfolio. Phase 3, the fast purchase. For most people, housing is the single biggest expenses in their life. Rent, mortgage, utilities. It consumes more of the monthly budget than anything else. The fast purchase in this system is designed to collapse that expenses, not reduce it, collapse it. Let me show you exactly how this worked on my first deal. I found a single family home in Redmond, Washington, right near the Microsoft headquarters where I was working. The house had a basement, purchase price $550,000. I put 5% down, $28,000 out of pocket. We moved in and we rented the basement out for $1,000 per month. That $1,000 covered 50% of our mortgage payment. Think about that, what that means. The biggest expense in our life just got cut in half by one tenant in one room. We held that property for 5.5 years. Sold it in 2021 for $1,050,000. Put in $28,000, worked out with $210,000. 117% return on invested capital, and we paid zero capital gains tax because it was our primary residence and we met the IRS guidelines. The mechanism here is called the house hacking, and it's the highest ROI move a new investor can make. You buy a property with an owner occupied loan, which means lower down payment and better rates. You live in one part of it, you rent the other part. The rental income offset your housing cost, and the money you were spending on rent or the extra money you are now saving because your mortgage is half covered goes directly towards the next down payment. Housing stops being a drain, it becomes a savings engine. The property you are looking for, 3 to 4 bedroom minimum, a basement or a separate unit, a safe neighborhood with a strong rental demand. You are not buying your dream home, you are buying your launch pad. Run the 50% rule before you go deep on any deal. Take the gross monthly rent multiplied by 0.5 that covers taxes, insurance, vacancy, repairs, and property management. Whatever left in your net operating income. Subtract the mortgage. If the remainder is less than $200 per door, move on. If it passes, then you do the detailed work. Phase 4, the loop. One property is a good start, but one property doesn't make you a millionaire. What makes you a millionaire is what happens after the first year. Here's the actual math of how this compounded for me. I started with $30,000 in 2016. After the Redmond house, I bought my first rental in Seattle in 2017. Then another one in Redmond in 2018. By the end of 2019, I had 6 personal rental properties. Then 2021 came, I sold the Redmond primary residence, $210,000 out, zero tax, and I took my second Seattle rental and did a 1031 exchange. If you don't know what a 1031 exchange is, it's a section of the tax code that lets you sell an investment property and roll the entire gain into a replacement property without triggering a capital gains tax. The money never touches your hands. It goes through a qualified intermediary directly into the next deal. I took that one Seattle rental and exchanged it to 6 properties, 3 in Alabama, and 3 in Nebraska. One deal became 6. The tax bill that would have come due deferred indefinitely. That's the loop. At first you buy, live in it for a year, move out, rent it, save the down payment, buy again. And when you sell, you don't cash out, you exchange up. The reason this compounds so fast is that each cycle makes the next one easier. The first property builds equity and the cash flow. That cash flow funds the next down payment faster than saving from a salary alone. The second property adds more cash flow, and the 1031 exchange means you are never giving a chunk of your gains to the IRS along the way, which might change in few years. The math at different speeds. What is the worst case? You do this 10 times in 10 years, you are a millionaire. What about the middle case? You pick up a duplex or fourplex along the way, you get there in 7 years. In my case, I sold the primary residence a few times, bought rentals in between, and hit millionaire status in 5 years, starting with just $30,000. After year 1 in any property, the decision is simple. Move out, rent your unit, find the next property, and do it again and again. That's called repeat. The only thing that stops this loop is one of 3 mistakes, and that's what the last section is about. The mistakes that break the loop. The system I just described works, but there are 3 specific ways investors destroy it before it has a chance to compound. I have watched all 3 happen to people who started with the same setup I had. The first mistake, adjustable rate mortgages. Don't do it. In 2020 and 2021, mortgage rates dropped to historic low, 2.5%, sometimes even lower. A lot of investors took arms at those rates, thinking they would refinance before the adjustment kicked in. Then rates moved to 7% and 8%. The monthly payment on those properties jumped by hundreds of dollars. Cash flow turned negative. Some of those investors had to sell. I use 30-year fixed rate loans always. The payment never changes. Inflation erodes the real cost of the debt over time, and nothing forces you to sell. The second mistake, selling too early. I have held properties that doubled in value. Some properties actually tripled. If I had sold at the first sign of appreciation, which is what a lot of investors do, I would have triggered a capital gains tax event, paid the IRS a significant chunk, and lost the compounding that came after. John Scabb has been investing through 6 recessions, 4 tax law changes, and interest rates ranging from 3% to 16%. His rule is very simple. Buy a property intending to hold it until it doubles in value. Keep 6 months of mortgage reserves in cash, so a vacancy or a repair never forces your hand. And if you do sell, always do 1031 exchange into next deal. The third mistake, chasing appreciation over cash flow. I have seen deals that looked great on paper because of the neighborhood, high growth area, strong appreciation history, but the rent didn't cover the mortgage. The investor was betting on the market going up. When it didn't move fast enough, they were stuck covering the shortfall out of pocket every month. Sometimes they lose job. That's how they lose the deal. Cash flow first. Appreciation is a bonus. If the deal doesn't work with rent alone, don't do it. The reason these mistakes are so damaging is that they interrupt the compounding. The entire system depends on time. Tenants paying down debt, rents is rising, mortgage staying flat, equity building. All of that requires you to stay in the deal. Anything that forces you out early, a variable rate that spikes, a tax bill that drains your capital, a property that bleeds cash every month, resets the clock. So here's what portfolio looks like when none of those mistakes are made. 22 properties, $5 million in value, $404,000 gross rental income last year, $105,000 net income after every expense. And I worked only 1 hour. That's not a lucky outcome. That's what you get when you run the system. Hold the properties and don't interrupt the compounding. If you want to build this, the credit foundation, the first purchase, the loan process, and the loop, check out my mastermind program. The link is in the description below. And I will see you in the next video.